All right, J.A., it is
Yes.
time for this top 5 list. You and I
You're not
chatted
going to give
about-
me another one of these stupid quizzes, right, where I just
No.
ace it backwards and forwards?
Clearly that didn't go well.
I hope somebody gave you trouble about that.
Many. There was a lot.
Okay.
A lot of people gave me trouble. You're
Good.
welcome. I'm going to do it again. I'm just apparently going to have to do a better job. All right. I asked you if you could come up with your top 5 list. I put one together too of your sports goosebumps moments. Listen, I know that you've been a place or two in a stadium or a venue. What gives you goosebumps? And I'll share my top 5 as well.
Well, right. And it's what makes sports special, right? It's what gives you goosebumps. That's part of the reason we go. What makes you feel alive. So, so naturally in all these top 5s, I've come up with at least 8. Very important to know that, as journalists, math is not the thing. I gave the commencement address at the University of Missouri's journalism school one time. And because ESPN does top 10 lists, I said, okay, here we go. I'm going to give you this, but then I'm going to give you the top 10 list. And they're like, yeah, great. And so I went number 11 and the whole place just broke up because we're not math majors. So once in a while we do. So first you got to tell me if these can count or not. Okay. Mm-hmm. So like I did after Super Bowl 37, it was in San Diego. It was when John Gruden and the Bucs kicked the crap out of the Raiders. Mm-hmm. And I did SportsCenter that night after the Super Bowl with Dan Patrick. And I thought, wow, this is a big day. Like I'm doing SportsCenter after the Super Bowl with the Dan Patrick. So that was kind of a goosebump moment. I don't know if that counts as a sportsy goo. If not, it's just me bragging. So I don't know if this counts. But it was at Alpine Valley Music Theater, and when Bruce Springsteen broke into Born to Run, I got goosebumps.
That counts.
Okay. Well, okay, but that's not sports related, so I didn't know if I could put it in the list. Okay. Here's legit ones. Number 5 makes sense, right? How about the 5th quarter at Camp Randall?
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Yeah, and the 5th and 5th, so I love that. Goes through. That made me. I had to boot out the Cotton Bowl then. Because when OU and Texas play and they enter in at the Cotton Bowl where they play, that's crazy too. That'll give you goosebumps whether you like Oklahoma or you do not. Number 4 was I was at the Georgia Dome for the Final Four in 2013. And if you recall, that was Michigan. Michigan had made it to the final. I think they played Villanova. Anyway, it was Michigan. And I had done SportsCenter beforehand, and now I'd done it with Jalen Rose. And Jimmy King, another one of the Fab Four, his buddy was there. So we get in the car to drive over. And that's one of the beauties of Final Four. It's close enough to get over there. So I'm in the van. It's me, it's Jimmy, and it's Jalen. And as we get in, we are met by Juwan Howard. And now we're walking into the Georgia Dome, which is an okay venue. And all of a sudden, the Michigan people spot 3 of the Fab 5 are walking into the building. And now I'm there, and so I don't clearly belong. So I take a step back. I know my place, right? I take a step back and just watch these guys go in, and the place went cuckoo. And so that, just sitting there watching that and how those guys were just, oh my gosh, deified as they walked in, and they hadn't been back since their trips to the Final Four, which apparently, according to the NCAA, didn't really happen, but they did. So that was one of the most amazing things. And you're like, again, knowing your place, not me, step out. Someday, ask me about that at the NBA Finals, about not knowing your place and going, oh, okay, step back. It's a great story in Golden State. Number 3 was when I went to the Rose Bowl for the first time for the game, Arizona State and Ohio State. Jake Plummer, undefeated, was right there. Thought they were going to win. They got beat. But the Rose Bowl, which as you know, is close to my heart. I've always loved, as a kid, watching that and wanting to grow. So the first time I was there, and the teams came through, and I've been fortunate now to be out there and cover both the parade and do their Hall of Fame. And so now I feel like I have some attachment. But the first time, that was crazy. I got a huge goosebump moment at number 2. Was the first time I was at St. Andrews and got to go to the British Open Championship at St. Andrews. and ended up me and Scott Van Pelt and Jason Duffner and Tiger Woods just strolling down the road home.
And
I'm like,
Tiger's last.
okay, I'll take that as a good day. And the number one goosebump moment I've ever gotten was in a completely empty stadium. Only the participants are there, and just a few media members. And that was in the summer of 21 in Tokyo, at the Olympics. I'm in the Olympic Stadium, which should be filled with people, but it's not. But when you're at the Olympics and you see a medal ceremony and you hear the national anthem, that's a goosebump moment. I don't care if there's 60,000 people in there or 6. But when people like Thingmo and Sidney McLaughlin or the American 4x4, when those guys got their gold medals and they play the national anthem and you're at the Olympics, man, those aren't goosebumps. That's just, it's like even now, right now, I don't know if you can see it. Like that's
cool.
Those are goosebump moments.
That makes sense now because every Olympic athlete that's won a medal that we've had on Inside Wisconsin, you ask, how do you do the national anthem now? Because you must realize I'll never do it the same again.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
And
all right, here's my top.
And I will say this as a caveat. You notice Lambeau Field's not on the list, and that's because every time I'm there and I have goosebumps, it's usually in the winter, and I can't just tell if I'm cold or not.
Well, and you grew up down the road. I think that qualifies. All right. I actually have I wasn't in the venue for my honorable mention, but I get goosebumps every single time I hear Bob Uecker call a home run or Matt LePay call a buzzer beater for the Badgers basketball team. Every single time. Every time it gets replayed, if it's live, head to toe goosebumps. Worth mentioning. Here we go. Number 5. I know I talk about it often. It is Woodruff's home run, NLCS Game 1 against Clayton Kershaw. The roof blew off the place. Number 4. Game 3 NLDS. You and I chatted about this a little bit. That is the first Brewers game of my lifetime. I was there. It was 4-1 Brewers that day. The towels in the place. It was incredible. That is it for my Brewers mentions. Number 3. Have you done this? I'm curious. Have you sat in the student section at Camp Randall Stadium for a Badger football game?
No, but I have been within earshot of O Sucks P and
yeah, okay. Got it.
So I don't know if that's still allowed, but back in the day,
there's an FU, eat this, whatever, blah, blah. Yeah, I've been there. I sat in the student section one time. I was 19 years old. It was unbelievable. I want to do it again as an adult and be that weird old guy that's sitting in the student section, but it is that fun. That brought me goosebumps, especially
I love
when
the point, by the way, that we can't trust college kids with the lids to cups anymore. Remember, they used to have that, but they fired the lids at you. They're like, okay, somebody's going to lose an eye. So it's a cup lid anyway.
Yeah. Number 2, the first time I walked through the Players Tunnel at Lambeau Field, I believe I was in high school. I happened to get a press pass for the radio station I was working for, and they let you walk onto the field as a member of the press prior to the game and do a lap or two and all that. Walking out of that tunnel was unbelievable to me. Crazy. And I've done it a few times since then. And now on the tour, Bill Jarts walks you down the tunnel. He's talking, not as in like him, but over the PA. And then the door slams open and not quite, but it was close. All right, here's my number 1. And I'm going to send some videos so you guys can actually see this with us. Ryder Cup Day 2, the number 1 tee box there at Whistling Straits. My buddy Jason and I got there before the sun came up and somehow landed a seat in the grandstand on the number 1 tee box. And the sun was rising over Lake Michigan. And there we are at Whistling Straits. The whole thing all because of Herb Kohler.
USA! 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 USA!
John, did you ever get the chance to meet Herb Kohler?
I met him briefly at a Badgers Final Four. He was there seated with his cane. And Scott Silvestre, who is now head of Badgers Properties, Badger Sports Properties down there in Madison, works with the athletic department, swam there. He was kind of Herb's marketing guy and kind of his right-hand man for many years before he left the company. And so he walked by and introduced me to him briefly. We need to get Scott on the show to talk about Herb. So in that regard, That's as close as I came, just a hello in passing. But I'm not so sure that as much as I admire Andy North for what he did for golf with his 2 U.S. Opens and what Steve Stricker has done with his, captain of the Ryder Cup and his great career, or guys like Skip Kendall, or guys like Jerry Kelly, or Manuel De La Torre, who I told you. I mean, I'm not sure there's anybody that's had a bigger impact on the sport in the state of Wisconsin than the courses that he built, which were extraordinary. And then, because you can build a great course, there are a lot of them, but to get major championships here in a Ryder Cup is unthinkable. You talk about things that didn't happen, that happened. We're always joking things that happened before you were alive. I tell people I'm from Wisconsin, I love to play golf. And like, oh, how many times you played this? I'm like, those courses weren't there when I was a kid, right? None of that happened until I was even out of college. That speaks more to how old I am, but so that's remarkable. Yeah. The transformation, and then what it spawned, right? Because now you got the Bowl, and you got Erin Hills, and you've got the Sand Valley, is it like all these? Like, we're a golf destination, man. I get we're not Florida and but like the golf course you can play in Wisconsin, and most of them that you can get on, is staggering.
True.
That said, and this has nothing to do with Herb Kohler, and I know we got to get back to Elaine. That said, we should never undersell Century World up there in Stevens Point, which is amazing.